You know, I know I probably haven't done this in a while. And what I'm talking about is, once again, another fan of the Sonic franchise, if you will, is not too happy and finally decided to let out their frustration. Now, let me clear something up before I read this. One, all I'm trying to do is kind of be an interpreter, if you will. I know those here at the YT and those at the other forums, if they watch the video or if they read the quote or whatever you want to call it, don't necessarily have DeviantArt accounts and don't know who these people are sometimes because they are not part of some of the clubs or groups that are created over at the DA. And what this is basically are some people through their journals or through what they type up and they put as an HTML or a text. Basically, all they're doing, and this guy's acknowledged it himself, is expressing their true feelings and opinions. Now, this person has acknowledged that we have our opinions and it's okay. He's cool with it. But he's just expressing out of anger everything about what's going on in the comic. As a matter of fact, I even have somebody that you might know here on YouTube that counters him with a little bit of a statement of their own. Basically, this guy does like a top 10 things that, well, this is what he calls it. He calls it the top 10 worst recent and continuing Sonic comics. If you will, he couldn't put the whole line on there. I don't know why. But this is in his journal, and he posted this about 13 hours and 25 minutes ago. So basically about around the 9 o'clock hour. And the person I'm talking about, in case you don't know, is right here. His name, if you can see it, is right here. Hamilton27. Now the person that counters him later on is on YouTube, and he's a subscriber of mine. I think he's here somewhere. Yeah, it's right here on the top. This guy counters him about 11 hours ago. But basically, this is a top 10. Now, this is the first time I've ever read someone doing a top 10 of what they feel is bad with the comic. Now, I respect everybody's opinion, too. I understand some people don't like the romance that takes place in the comic. I understand some people feel it's not, they feel that it's not really necessary. They feel that certain things shouldn't be in there and certain things should be. I respect that. I mean, I understand people don't like that. I mean, that's just with anything. That's with any kind of comic book. There are some people that like certain things that are on the X-Men and some people that don't. There are certain things people like about Spider-Man, some things don't. I mean, heck, you want to talk about a person that has a top 10, top 15 list on things they feel is wrong with certain comics. Look at Limkara over at that guy with the glasses.com and atop the fourth wall. He does top 10, top 15 countdowns of what he feels is wrong with certain things. Heck, he did a top 15 countdown on Countdown and the worst things about Countdown. He did a top 15 or something like that on, or top 10 worst heroes becoming villains deal. And so on and so forth. So in other words, he gives his opinion. So think of these opinions that people give sometimes as almost being like Linkara-like opinions towards a bad comic. I'm not saying the Sonic one by Archie Comics isn't bad, it's good. It's one of the best video game adaptations out there, in comic book form. But you have to respect people's opinions, and that's what I do here. And again, all I am is an interpreter for those that don't know about these groups and rants and all that. And this is about 5 pages almost worth of stuff. Now, Hamilton27 states that again, this is his top 10 worst recent and continuing Sonic comics. Now, this is everything he quotes, and if I kind of say anything in between, I'm just counteracting what he's saying, or kind of trying to counteract what he's saying. So, here's what he says. And I quote, themes. Well, yes, too long for a title, so yeah. The rest of the title is things, or comic and things. Yeah, just say it, Sonic Comics. And he puts Sonic Comics in bold print here, if you will. Not bold print, but he puts it in capitalized, if you will. If I can get it down there. Right there. And I'm sorry for any lines you might see in here. But anyway, this is what he says. Yeah, just say it, Sonic Comics. Your head wants to explode. The current arc does have its fans, I guess, and I respect them for their opinions. There you go. He respects the fact there are fans out there that love this current story arc and have no problems with it. But I find that more people don't like, and he capitalizes the second time he says don't. Well, not the word don't, but the D. Don't like. Well, wait a minute. But I find that more people don't like, and he should have put quotations around this. No offense, Hamilton. Don't like is an understatement. I have seen complete, utter, and contempting despisement of the writer, the characters, the action, the plot, and the list goes on. Personally, and he puts this next word in capitalized, hate. That's why he capitalizes hate. This comic. The utter impatience or impotence of this comic. I'll provide a link down below so you can read this, if I don't get any of the words right. Is not present in any other. That's what he puts, any other. Check this out. Sorry for the blurriness. Where'd that come from, son? Oh, there we go. See, it's not present in any other comic book I have ever read. I'm serious. I can take the worst comic book I read, and Sonic Comics just multiplies the wrong. So in other words, let's take what Linkara feels is one of the worst comics ever, One More Day, and it's on. Basically, he's stating here that he could take what's going on in the Sonic Comics right now and multiply that. Or multiplies the wrong of it, or something like that. It's so unbelievably sloppy that I'm amazed, I swear, it's so unbelievably sloppy that I'm amazed. I swear it needs an award for the most consistent, awful job being done by the writer and sometimes the artist too. It's amazing, actually. And I'm going to list what I think is the top 10 worst. And he puts top 10, capitalizes worst, just to let you guys know, if you can see that. And I'm going to list what I think is the top 10 worst elements of the comics of recent play, and even some of the major recurring problems. If you don't like my opinion, please keep in mind I don't want to offend anyone who supports Ian. I hate him, but not his supporters. Calm down and hear me out, please. So in other words, what he's saying is he doesn't like Ian, he hates what he's doing, but he doesn't hate those that support him. He respects those that support him, and he just wants to be heard out. So here we go. Number 10, he said. This is his top 10. He's going like a countdown. All right, and I quote, Hamilton27, number 10, the universe of characters appearing all which lack character development and are Mary Sues themselves. Okay, that's number 10. The universe of characters appearing all which lack character development and are Mary Sues themselves. As we all know, there are a lot of characters in the Sonic game. Excuse me for a second. I have to drink some coffee. Alright, continuing on. As we know, there are a lot of characters in the Sonic games. But to be fair, they only appear when needed. Or when they do appear, they are downplayed in the emotional and plot-driven amount of the game. The comic has way more characters in the comic to pay attention to. And to top it all off, the comic consistently puts focus on those characters who really should be more than supportive characters or background characters. And when they are supposed to be a major secondary characters, they come off as inconvenience. They come off as an inconvenience or a major help or threat. You would be surprised how rare. You would be surprised how rare the latter in these comics. You would be surprised how rare the latter is in this comic, or in these comics. Okay. I'm trying to make sure I find out where the sentences ends and begins. Also, the mood swings in action seem really forced plot-wise. It's all convenience to make the tension seem more tensy. The characters are basically used to have emotional breakdowns or be boring and superficial. Like the nostalgia critic, there's a acknowledgement there. Like the nostalgia critic said in this Spider-Man 2 review, if you're going to go through the trouble and have all these characters, actually develop them. And he capitalizes actually develop them right at the end there. See? Okay. Number 9. The abundance of phoned-in couples. And I quote Hamilton27, fan fictions had more developed couples than the uninteresting, cliched, and kind of random pairings in this comic. And there are millions, and he capitalizes millions, of them. Sonic Sally, Sonic Fiona, Sonic Amy, Tails Mina, Bunny Antoine, Con Sally, Snively Iron Queen, Knuckles Julie Sue, Antoine's kid, Vector's kid, Shadow Rouge. And the list goes on. And if you don't believe me by what he's listed, take a look there. And I'm not going to talk about furries. Here's the thing. Sonic is a furry. You capitalize that whole thing. Sonic is a furry. If you pair him with a girl of any kind, then it's a furry. So I'm not complaining about that. What I'm complaining about is that these couples are far from extinct. And he capitalizes way too many of these exist. You know how I said that a lot of these characters are Mary Sues? Well, for couples, it's a different story. They aren't Mary Sues, no. They're tokens. The stereotypical cliched love interest shoehorned into the story for no point or lead-in. From what I've seen, if he's a character, then he has a couple. I guess that's what he meant. I wouldn't mind so much if, again, the characters were interesting and fun, not boring, superficial, cliched, pretentious, and idiotic. Now you might be wondering, and he capitalizes this, and I want to read it to you while you look at it. If I can find it. Oh, here it is. Now you might be wondering, then what makes Tails and Cosmo, so interesting, huh? Tails and Cosmo he's talking about. Here's why it's an interesting couple. We all know why we like Tails, so I'll only speak about Cosmo. Cosmo is interesting because she is kind of a mix between Cinderella, a messiah, and a little child. She may act like she she may act like she has lost everything, which she has. She does cry a lot. She does have her moment where she is very depressed, but, and he capitalizes but much like Cinderella, she can still find happiness in her life. She can still play with her friends and laugh and help heal people so they can feel better. She also sacrifices herself in the love of keeping her friends safe and the universe safe. Sure, she is gloomy at points, but she has a childlike presence and a huge heart and a goodwill to help people and to care for others she loves. Now, I will say this, if he has a YouTube account, Hamilton, you're going to get a certain Ezekiel 300 countering that with Sally, which is a good counterpoint. So prepare for that. And now continuing on and quoting Hamilton. Now what would this type of character type be in the comic? I don't know. His or her mood would change just for the convenience of the plot. Even going as far as changing his or her character traits from all I have mentioned into a sickened and heartless person who would do horrible acts out of his or her realm of personality. But we will get into that later. Okay, continuing on. Number 8, the abuse of Sate-Am characters. Bunny has suddenly been cured of an incurable attachment to her after many years of being a cyborg. Antoine is in a coma that he did not deserve, and Sally is roboticized after an arc was spent in the pointless effort to save her from being shot. I mean, come on, Ian, and this is Hamilton27 talking, and I quote, I mean, come on, Ian, enough with the shock value. How about some character and story development, or even some, and he capitalizes this, good planning for once. These characters don't deserve this after, and this is what he capitalizes both words, so much trouble was spent, and then he puts in apostrophes, 4 months exactly, to have the world reset to save a character from death, only to have her into a fate even more awful than death. This is just making me think. If Sally gotten shot, and he capitalizes this, none of this would have happened. And then he capitalizes all what he's about to say here. But that's my point. She shouldn't have been shot in the first place if he wanted to cause so much pointless, stupid shock moments. Besides, at least Sate-Am does something better than Ian ever could do. Be engaging. Alright. Now this is all Hamilton, I'm telling you. It's not me, it's Hamilton27. I'm just the interpreter, kind of like the translator, whatever you want to call it. And again, the link will be provided in the description box. Number 7. The fact that the comic is turning dark. And I mean this dark. He capitalizes this and dark. Death, genocide, poison, attempted murder by a hero, tyranny, politics, paradoxes, city destruction, destroying worlds, emotional breakdowns, and a heavily negative and overwhelming atmosphere. Because this, and he capitalizes this, is what we want from Sonic the Hedgehog, right? And this is sarcastically what he talks about in response to that. Why don't we put Mario and Doom, or mix Lord of the Rings with Donkey Kong? Or have 2001 A Space Odyssey with Bubble Bobble? Or Mortal Kombat with Care Bears fighting along with them? And possibly the best idea, a combination of Kirby and Sin City. Listen, I know that the comic has its dark moments. I say dark very loosely. Also in the games too. But not, and he capitalizes this again, this much. This is turning into an X-Men clone. A really bad a really bad X-Men clone. Have we forgotten what Sonic is all about? And he provides a link in here, and you'll see that when you click on the link in the description box. He provides a link to a YouTube video of somebody playing the Sonic Green Hill Zone. Have we forgotten what Sonic's all about? And then, like I said, he provides a link into the Green Hill Zone deal. See, there is a difference in the games where it can be dark and epic. It's mostly supposed to be epic and large, but if dark, not so overwhelmingly dark. The comic just takes it the wrong way. And if it took it the right way, and he capitalizes right way, it still suffers from being poorly executed and just comes out as stupid. The video game adaptations, no comment. There's no attempt to fit them into continuity. They instead are just redrawings of the first cutscene of the game. Even the Genesis arc is like this. But we'll get into that, and he capitalizes that, later. Number 5. The excuses that mandates are preventing you to expand on character personality for the game characters. I can do that. And I have many times in my picks. I can build around the tiny little space given for personality that Sega gives. And I have seen it, and he capitalizes what he says here, and I have seen it, and I have seen, and he capitalizes right after I have seen, millions of fans do the same. So Ian, you smug nincompoop, why can't you? Speaking of Sega, and he capitalizes that, speaking of Sega, number 4. The fact that Sega doesn't step in, slap Ian and the others in the face and say, hey, knock it off. The difference of the comic and Sonic X is that Sonic X is created by Sega itself. Archie is only given a license and Sega has no input because they don't give a shit. Yeah, he swore that. They don't give a shit. That is until another nincompoop writer screams, I own your property! Then they get involved and start to question the license. Hey Sega, if you want them to have their counterparts like your originals and change when you want only, then why don't you work with, and he capitalizes that, with them? It just gives them more opportunities to hire an incompetent writer to write around, and he capitalizes that, around the mandates you gave them, and then slap your still low quality label indicated by your logo in the top corner. Putting your logo means that you really want to put this out because it's so good. Here's the tip, and he capitalizes this. Get into the action and stop the mandates. Look at Ken. Another writer could be doing this in the future. Or better yet, cut off the license, capitalizing that. If the creators of your products are not willing to get their thumbs out of their arrogant asses and write good stories to represent your characters and products, then, and he capitalizes this last part, cut them off. Number 3, the Genesis arc. And I guess he puts a little trolley face there, or whatever it is. One of those faces. Hey, Sonic fans, want to finally see us represent your childhood memories and reboot our comic? And he capitalizes, here it is. At first, and he capitalizes this part, I love the Genesis comics. It was mostly the perfect representation of my treasured childhood memories with my Genesis. Then Sally and Rhoda and Ant came in and it started to get a bit iffy real fast. But I still loved it as a reboot. Then we go back to the regular arc. I was like, okay, fine, at least you saved Sal, right? Then Mecha Sally. And he puts da-da-da-da, and he puts those little periods at the end. And then he capitalizes this. And I want you to read this off with me. I want you to look at this while I read it off to you if you could see it. The last 4 months was a sellout, trolling, waste of time, money, paper, thought, development, and marketing. Okay, let's calculate this. 4 months and one issue costs $2.99. Add that together and then add in 730,484 or 738,484,398 hours in a month and multiply it by 4, then we have $11.96, 2 billion, or 2 million, okay, 2,921,000 $933,359 in hours wasted on money, development time, consumer time, and just time in general. That, and he capitalizes that, and he capitalizes all this, and believe me, you're about to hear it, right here, at the top. That is bull motherfucking shit. Damn it. I don't want to use this word, but damn it. Alright, number 2. A tie between Sonic's 235's plot hole and happenings, and the fact that there barely is a hint of resolution to any arc. First, 235. The issue is one of the top worst comics in existence. He capitalizes worst. For video game themed comics. Sonic is turned into a mindless asshole who isn't the fun-loving, good old guy we love. Nope. He's always angry and hurts others he hurts others for the sake of Sally. Even his allies. Bunny left Antoine during his coma. Look at my pic for a comment about Bunny abruptly leaving Antoine. Let me put it in a few words. And he capitalizes this. She is his wife, and she is useless now. Period. And the main problem is the plot hole. I mean, Silver, he capitalizes Silver, the Scrappy-Doo of the Sonic universe, now makes an appearance and could have just went back in time and saved Sally from being roboticized. Nope. Just to keep that pretentious plot moving along. Hate. And everyone would know that after the climax of each arc. A new problem already appears and the characters never take a break. I have to ask why. If you will never end the comic, why do you have a climax? Answer me that. And besides, maybe taking a break would give an advantage of developing the Simpsons ensemble of characters you have created. Ever thought of that, you dumb nuts? Phew, this whole thing is wearing me down, but my passion for good quality work is still going strong. Finally, number one is the overtones and manipulation of the characters that make them seem like selfish, uncaring, idiotic, pretentious, annoying, stupid, boring, bland, and heartless. He capitalizes heartless. Ian feels that just for the convenience of his story, he can make characters go out of what they would actually do. This is not only present in the current arc, but it's in many other ones as well. Most notably the Sonic vs. Tails arc, in which Sonic out loud negatively judges and insults Tails' parents right in front of them in Tails. And this throws Tails into a sobby fit. Ian, do you realize how much this hurts? To see our childhood icon acting like this? And remember 235, where he capitalizes all this, spin dashes Silver, drags him across the city, slams him into the pole of a hospital bed, and it says, "Go away," without apologizing. I'm sorry, but he's dead. Sonic has died. Admit it. Sonic has been killed in these comics, and it makes me cry and feel sick to my gut just thinking about it. And this is in every one of his arcs. And he capitalizes, I hate it. I'm actually crying right now. I'm not sorry, but I'm passionate about Sonic. He's my childhood hero. And this just feels like taking him and butt-fucking his brain until it explodes into the monstrosity we have now. And he kind of has a sad smiley face icon right there. And again, you'll see that in the description box. This is no joke. These comics are so bad, they are really, really, really starting to hurt me. Badly. as if my childhood and inner child and heart is getting stabbed with a weapon that Gus, by pointing at a heart, it bleeds it to death. I haven't been this emotionally scarred by Sonic products since the death of Cosmo. And I gave up on the comics completely. I hate it to the depths of hell until all the sins, all but dies. Sorry, there's my top 10 list. I won't upload the pic today or night. I just need to calm down. Sorry. Please don't hate me, and if you support Ian, please let me know why. I don't hate you, and you can have your opinions. Night. So that is basically Hamilton27's feelings. Basically, he had to, you know how some people just got to get stuff out of the system? Well, he had to basically get this out of his system. So I'll be back in a little bit to give you the other person's counter to that, well, right after I let this battery charge. Okay, everybody, I'm back. Had to let the battery really recharge. But, like I was saying, I have a counter to the top 10 that Hamilton27 did. And this is by Lewison Owlsman, otherwise known as Louis the Hedgehog, here on YouTube. Now, these are again a counter to some of the things he said. Like, number 10, the universe of characters appearing all who which lack character development and are Mary Sue's themselves. Now, this is what he said about number 10. He said this, and again, you'll see the link to this, and you can scroll down and find this comment section here. But this is what he said for number 10, and I quote Louis the Hedgehog here. It's too vague. Please specific a character which is a prime example of what you're pointing out. I don't know who you're referring to in this. Now, basically what he's saying is he wants Hamilton to say, look, here's an example of what I'm talking about. Here's this character and here's why this character is like this and blah, blah, blah. Now, number 9. The abundance of phoned-in couples. Now, of course, like I said at the end of that one, he said that the one that works out best is Tails and Cosmo. Here's Louis the Hedgehog's response to that, and I quote, I don't know if using Cosmo is a good example of a well-written love interest and pairing with Tails. Some have said that this has been just as shoehorned in as the others you pointed out. So in other words, what he's saying is that there are those that say this whole Cosmo-Tails relationship has just been pushed in your face, if you will, just as the ones you talked about, like the Sonic Amy, the Sonic Sally, the Bunny Antoine, Antoine's kid, Vector Kid, you know, so on and so forth. And he has a good point there. Now, number 8. He actually, I think, kind of agrees with this one, and let me find number 8 here. Here it is. The abuse of Satiam characters. And he agrees with this. Basically, you know, the abuse he was talking about, you know, Bunny being restored from the cybernetics that weren't supposed to be restored. Antoine being in a coma, Sally being roboticized. Here's the response by Louis the Hedgehog. And I quote, number 8. Yeah, you have a good point there. Flynn's handling of her is very subpar, along with the other characters who have become victims of Flynn's roundabout way of handling the mandates. In other words, what he's talking about with, I think, maybe Sally or Bunny or something like that, that he agrees that Flynn hasn't been handling Sally or Bunny, probably Sally here, in the best way, and that it's just, she's just among a list of characters that have been victims, in his eyes, misused, mishandled and all that, because of the mandates Sega hands down to the comic. Now, that's one thing. Number 7. Number 7. The fact that the comic is turning dark, and I mean this dark. And here's Louis the Hedgehog's response to that. What you pointed out here is what TV tropes, and he provides a link in there, calls Darker and Edgier, which is a writer's attempt to make things more serious and mature, but failing with the execution, though there are the rare exceptions. So in other words, what he's pointing out here in his counteracting, basically counteracting the number, in his counter to the number 7, or response to the number 7, is this is what Ian is doing, is trying to make this comic, which many have said is a all ages comic, more serious and mature than it should be. But it's failing with the execution, but has admitted there are rare exceptions. In other words, Ian has succeeded, but most of the time has been failing. All right, his reply to number 6. Number 6 is number 6 was the video game adaptations. Okay, I may have missed that one. Yeah, number 6 was the video game adaptations. He said, no comment, there is no attempt to fit them in continuity. They instead are just redrawings of the first cutscene of the game. Even the Genesis arc is like this, but we'll get into that later. Okay, that was Hamilton, remember? And now, that's what I did. I didn't say it was number 6, I just read on. So I apologize for that. But here is Lewis's response to that. It's a case of Sega's meddling when it comes to the video game adaptation to the comic book. I suspect someone in marketing doesn't understand that the video game and the comic book are separate continuities. So in other words, what he's responding to number 6 number 6 on Hamilton's top 10, Lewis the Hedgehog is countering by saying, or replying by saying, somebody who obviously doesn't, someone from Sega who's probably in marketing doesn't kind of get, oh, the comic book's a separate continuity from the games. They pretty much assume that whoever's, like they said, the person in marketing, probably, they're saying that, basically what he's saying is, and assuming that the person in marketing is probably like, oh, okay, both, the game and the comic are the same continuity. And he's basically saying, no, they're not. Which is true. All right, number 5, the Genesis arc. Now you read about what the Genesis arc was, right? Okay. This is Lewis the Hedgehog's response to that. 2 words. He's lazy. That's Lewis the Hedgehog's response to this from Hamilton's number 5. This is, again, I'll reread number 5 just in case you guys want to know what I'm talking about. But this is Lewis the Hedgehog's response to it. And again, you can see in the link. Hey Sonic fans, want to see us represent your childhood memories and reboot our comic? Here it is. Capitalized, here it is. At first I loved the Genesis comics. It was almost a perfect representation of my treasured childhood memories with my Genesis. Then Sally, Rhoda, and Ant came in, and it started to get a bit iffy real fast. But I still loved it as a reboot. Then we go back to the regular arc. I was like, okay, fine. At least you saved Sally, right? Then Mecha Sally. The last 4 months was a sellout, trolling, waste of time, money, paper, thought. The last 4 months was a sellout, trolling, waste of time, money, paper, thought, developing, and marketing. And basically, you see the calculations that I showed you before about that, which is right here at the bottom. In which he says, that is bull motherfucking shit. Damn it. Oh, wait a minute. Am I on the right one? Oh, number 5. I'm sorry. I was looking at number 3. That was my fault. I apologize. But I'll get into that a little bit. I'll remind you of that. But number 5, 2 words, he's lazy. That's the counter to the number 5 of the excuses that mandates are preventing you to expand your character personality for the game characters. That's basically Lewis's responses. He's lazy. So I apologize if I misled you there. That was my fault. My fault. Now, okay. All right, number 4. Number 4 is the Sega doesn't step in and slap Ian in the other's face and say, hey, knock it off. Number 4, counter to that. To a certain extent, on that I agree. But things are not quite that simple. If a slap upside the head could stop poor quality, it would be nice. But sadly, even Sega is having a problem with their own quality control, and the group structure of the company itself is very fracturated. All right. Number 3, the Genesis arc. Again, I just mentioned that. Like I said, I leaped ahead. But here's his response to number 3. I fully understand your anger. It was a nice reboot, but it did absolutely nothing to contribute except for the enshrined, obviously contrived robotization of Sally. All right. That's his answer to number 3 of the Genesis arc on Hamilton's Number 2. Between Sonic issue 235 and plot hole happenings and the fact that there's barely a hint of resolution. Here's his response to the number 5. Yet again, this stems from Ian Flynn's laziness as a writer and not owning up to it and actually improve upon his weakness. So they won't become liabilities in future issues. In other words, the whole Bunny leaving and stuff like that and whatever. Again, the link will be in the description box. And number 2, and number 1, the overtures and manipulation of the characters, that makes it seem like, his answer to number 1 about the manipulation of the characters being portrayed as, not the same, uncaring, lazy, stuff like that. Again, the link in the description box. And he says, however, he says number 1, same as number 2 and number 5 in his counteracts here. And you can see that's his counter, if I can pull it out a little bit. These are his counterpoints or replies to Hamilton's situation, or Hamilton's countdown. Okay? However, and now he ends it by saying, however, you need to tone things down. The passion may get across your emotions, but it actually does the opposite in pleading your case effectively. It can also be used against you. There are plenty of people out there, and believe me, I know what he's talking about, who could use this as proof that fans who are against Flynn are immature fan brats that can never be satisfied. Therefore, a more adult approach is preferred if you desire credibility. Sorry about that, folks. Video came to an abrupt end, and my tape came to an abrupt end, so I apologize for that. But what I was saying, basically, and if you see any lines in this tape, I apologize. But basically, his counteract to that, and again you can see the lines in there, what he's trying to say at the end of his counter, his replies, is that Hamilton27 and anybody else that kind of has issues with what's going on in the comic have to take the time and think rationally. Basically think, okay, how can I counter, how can I explain and express how I feel without sounding like an immature fan brat, without getting out of line and saying, oh, well, this is wrong, that is wrong, this is wrong, that is wrong, this is wrong, this, basically the thing is, how can I do that without people saying I'm a fan brat, I'm obsessed? And quite honestly, just, here's my example. Do what a few fans have done already. Email Ian Flynn if you can. Let him know how you feel. Let him know how you feel. Kind of think your words out and say to yourself, okay, how can I tell Ian Flynn how I feel about what he's doing? How can I express to him, I don't like what you're doing with the characters. I don't like how you executed this. How can you come out and explain to him? Now, he's done an interview and all that, and I'm pretty sure some people asked him similar questions. I haven't played it yet. And I haven't put it up on YouTube because I don't want to take any chances of, being against me. But if any of you guys know of it, know the interview I'm talking about, he did it with Segabits. Go ahead and post it if you want to, or something like that. But, again, here's the situation. Here's the situation. What Lewis the Hedgehog is trying to say is, they're trying to say basically, if you're going to ask Ian Flynn a question, try to be more mature, try to be more rational. Don't let your emotions get the best of you. Because yes, there's a lot of us that are not happy with what's going on in the comics. That's an obvious given. I mean, you cannot say it's not an obvious given because it's an obvious given. But we cannot let the emotions get the best of us, because if we let the emotions get the best of us, then it's going to be fuel to the fire for those that say that fans out there are fan brands. You need to keep your irrational, you need to keep your emotions in. You can't let them come out. You need to basically, in a mature, reasonable way, kind of, do a top 10 and say, look, this is what I feel you did, and I don't like it, and I would appreciate if you could fix this. Now, of course, maybe Ian Flynn will acknowledge you, and email, reply to you back and say, okay, look, I understand your frustrations, and yes, I appreciate your top 10, but I can't do this exactly as you would like. Right, because I got to still continue on with the plot. Now, I know a lot of people are saying that, now one of the things that Hamilton did bring out is, Silver's a time traveler. Why doesn't he just travel back in time, take Sonic with him and say, okay, this Sally, she's about to get hit with the roboticizer. Here we go. You're out of the way. That's what he's wondering. Why can't you just stop it from happening? Again, yes, maybe it is an excuse, in his opinion, to keep the story going. But if Ian Flynn's planning to restore it, if he's planning to restore it, then the best thing to do is let it play out. Let it play out. You get what I'm saying? It's kind of like, a lot of people are looking at, speaking of Sally and the whole situation there, a lot of people are looking at maybe this being a long excuse to being nothing more than a way of getting her fully clothed, right? Well, according to Dan Dreisen, who I replied to, who I emailed again, he said that would basically be turning the continuity inside out or upside down for no reason, just to do that. And that something like that could be done in a single panel or so and have her explain why. So, again, something like that, where people are like, oh, you gotta be kidding me, this is nothing more. You gotta basically, if you want to ask him straight out, hey, are you planning, if she's restored? Now, you don't want to say when you restore her, but you want to basically work within the system. If you want to give logic and say, if you restore her, do you plan to have her fully clothed? Is this just another way of doing that? You want to ask that question. And of course, he may not give you a straight answer because he doesn't want to give much away, and that's the thing about comic book writers. They tease, and they tease you what they're going to do, and they don't want to give much away. So, but I think, again, what Lewis the Hedgehog is trying to tell Hamilton and anybody else that feels the same way he does, keep your emotions in check. If you're going to express your anger, that's fine, express it, but don't let it get the best of you. If you're going to tell Ian, hey, I don't like what you're doing, and you're going to swear, and you're going to go all out, try to be rational. Try to say, look, here's my top 10 things I don't like what's going on, and here's why I feel you can improve on them. Please take time to read it. So, that's all I'm going to say on that, on this. And again, just to let you know, like I said at the beginning of this video, I'm kind of like an interpreter. I'm kind of like someone that's translating what people are saying at other sites, not just Sonic related, not just YouTube related, not just Facebook or Twitter related, but other sites like DeviantArt and Infinidiant and elsewhere. So comment down below if you like, tell me what you guys think, respond if you like, I'll talk to you all later.